right. So I just want to welcome everybody to the live voice AMA with obviously RugDoc here on our channel, also with 10 from 10.Finance. Welcome everybody, and I just want to get kicking us off real quick. Mr. 10, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, and for those of us that are unfamiliar, maybe just give us a little rundown of your background.
Sure. I am Mr. 10. I am one of the co-founders of 10.Finance. I come from the traditional finance side, going back to the early 2000s, trading through the latter part of the dot-com crash and into the great financial crisis of 2007, 2008. Wall Street, primarily commodities, FX, bonds, things of that nature. I started trading for a family office when I was 20, doing research work, worked my way up to trading a decent sized portfolio, then went off and did my own thing, fell into the, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin rabbit hole back in 2015, after initially dismissing it. And, just the one thing led to another. Here we are,
All right.
six years later, very quick 6 years later.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And real quick for those watching or taking this in on playback, RugDoc, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself for folks that might not know you yet?
Sure thing. So I am RugDoc of RugDoc.io, and we are a decentralized finance safety community. So we basically provide a place where you can get free yield farm and DEX reviews. And we also just, provide a nice little home and educational resources for hopefully most of your DeFi and particularly yield farming needs.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that gives, and just in case anybody doesn't know, and how could they not? But so we're here, we're going to do a little shoot in the breeze. I have some questions that folks had sent in, some prepared questions. Did we want to jump into some of those first, or did we want to kind of like hit some direct content that we want to get up front?
That's a great question. I mean, since Mr. 10 is really our guest of honor, he can make that distinction. And I will say, having done these kind of chit chat goes everywhere, almost like a podcast sort of situations before, conversation may start off with a question and end up talking about vacations in Belize. You never know. So, we'll see where things go. But Mr. 10, do you have a preference?
Honestly, I would love to know what you guys are talking about, but I pressed a button and I had to rejoin the chat, and I got the last literally 7 seconds of what you said. But Belize sounds good right now, so however you want, I'm good.
We were just asking if I didn't know if there was anything that we wanted to hit prepared at the front of this, because that's when most folks are going to be listening. I do have some prepared questions. They're not super detailed or anything, but if we had some stuff that we wanted to cover, I can go through that first.
To be quite honest with you, I think initially when I discussed this with Doc, I'm not really prepared with any particular question. So
no worries.
Whatever you've prepared, I don't know what it's there. So I'm good. You take the lead, I follow. So
we really haven't prepared much.
Guest.
Yeah, we really haven't. This is just kind of a true AMA experience. The
awesome.
Chat can ask us questions live in the chat. Or if they raise their hand on voice, they can ask us a voice, or they can ask us a question through that Google document that we've been sharing. So they have 3 ways that they can chat with us, ask with us, as we go. But maybe we just want to start off with like one of the Google form questions, just to get us going, and maybe see if chat has anything that they want to ask us as we go.
Awesome. I'm going to try and pull a good one here. Let's see what I've got.
Oh, a good one.
All right. Yes. So somebody has let me start with this one. This is a good question. So the person's asking, what do you want to say with Tenizen? And what do you see 10.Fi? I think they meant to say, where do you see 10.Fi in the next 5 years?
Tenizen, I guess it's a term we literally just kind of created out of thin air. One day we were just chatting, and there's a bunch of community. It's more of a community building, practice, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So we just call ourselves Tenizens, like a citizen, but a citizen of Ten.Fi or Ten.Finance. Something fun to just kind of keep us going and, build a bond in terms of, where I see Ten.Finance in 5 years. I think I still see us as a part of the DeFi ecosystem. Hopefully working our way towards greater adoption with regards to simplifying the on-ramping of DeFi, and I think we've been having this discussion, with myself and our partners with the simplification process. And, we've got friends that have been trading or been in crypto for years. I mean, when I say years, they're like 3-4 years.
That's like a lifetime in it, right?
Right. It feels like 2 decades.
Yeah.
But, the problem is, although we may be a little more inclined to participate in DeFi projects, yield farming, or whatever it may be, a lot of people are still scared. They're scared of using a wallet like a MetaMask or even the Trust wallet. It's like, wait, where does it go? What if I lose it?
Yeah.
The responsibility factor. So, and I think we had this discussion. I had this discussion with Doc earlier on. Is education is key. And I love the fact, the direction you guys are going in educating the community with regards to literally everything A to Z, is because we need that. There isn't as much of that. It's more, people are inclined to, I guess, see numbers rather than where it is. But in terms of where we are in 5 years, I feel that we will be a mainstay in the DeFi landscape, in particular on BSC. Whether we go cross-chain, it depends on how, I guess, not how successful, but how, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's just take it one day at a time, with regards to going cross-chain, because, I have my own thoughts about other EVM compatible or, based on EVM and so forth. So quality over quantity. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. Real quick, I just wanted to throw to Doc. Doc, do you want to throw a follow-up question on that one, or have anything that you wanted to offer? Or do you want me to go to the next question?
I mean, it's, I love Ten.Finance, and I am always a fan of clever wordplay. So Tenizen has a lovely ring to it. It just does, it's clever.
Let's
Unfortunately,
go. I didn't understand what that was at first, but now that I saw it with the Tenizen, clever. I like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have anything particular to contribute, so it's a very Ten-oriented question.
We can knock another, and we got a couple I can knock out real quick too. So this is a two-parter. I believe somebody meant to put in as a two-parter. I'm going to hit you with this first part, and then we'll jump to the second. So Q1 says, impermanent loss is one of the greatest fears of yield farmers. How does Ten.Finance protect its users from IL, and what mechanisms do you have in place?
Well, I mean, I think this is a question in particular for everybody in DeFi, not just in particular Ten.Finance. As how to protect yourself against IL, it's kind of like, what goes back to when I was trading is how do you hedge against a position? Do you synthetically hedge against your positions, or do you go cash, go sit on stables? That's the obvious easy way out. But the best way to protect against impermanent loss, or to make sure that, and this is just me putting on my trader hat and, trying to look at different positions, is if you're in an LP and you're worried about impermanent loss, and depending on the farm you're in, and if you don't really care for the tokens you're farming, you sell it. You cover up for any possible loss that you may face. That is the simplest solution. In terms of what we're doing in particular, I mean, there isn't really any tools that will say, hey, you know what, there may be in the future. It's something we're working on. It's more of a balancer type of pool with regards to IL being taken into consideration. But nothing like that exists just yet. Let's just put it that way.
No, that makes sense. Mr. Ten comes up with a good point. That's probably a DeFi wide question. Doc, did you want to piggyback on there with some extra, or have a thought on it?
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, impermanent loss is something to consider whenever you're yield farming. Um, if I'm sure everybody here has heard like the term getting thrown around, but it basically means that, when you have a liquidity pair, one of the price of your tokens changes in a drastic way from when you started, and it alters the amount that actually winds up being in your liquidity pair. So it's something to keep in mind. Um,
Right.
I
Cool.
think it's something that's just like a part of DeFi.
It's just a
Fortunately
part
or
of
unfortunately, it's just
it's
how it
just a part of
works.
doing business here.
Yeah, you can try and, I guess, you can't really hedge against it, because the second that you go into something that's not a stable token that has the possibility of increasing or decreasing in price, you're going to just have to work that into your equation for, what your overall profits is. But I can say, as someone who does regularly stake things that are not stable coins, that do change and do have some manner of impermanent loss,
Yeah.
if you're depending on how degen the token you're staking is, it's not as large of a problem as people make it out to be. The fact that
Right.
you may lose some small fractionality because BTC jumped up, well, I don't know, BNB did not, or cake
Right.
dropped slightly.
Yeah.
It usually does not impact my overall trading strategy. Um, However, if you're going to go ape into whatever the newest native token of the newest yield farm is, yeah, 100%. You need to think real hard about what you're doing, what you're pairing, and like what your exit strategy is.
Cool.
I'm not sure any farm can really take much. You can't really prevent it. There's
Not,
no,
Right.
there's no,
not yet. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no
Not yet.
real way that you can actually fix this from a farm standpoint, because it's an actual like economics problem. It's just like a fundamental economic problem that happens when you provide liquidity in a pair.
Yeah.
So
Unless
yeah,
it's a
there's no
stable coin, then you're not
right,
gonna have
exactly.
any IO.
There's no encoded answer to this one. It's just it happens.
Right.
Unless you're staking like USDT, USDC, or something that's like probably not going to change much. And actually, USDT may change, so like that's maybe
I was
not a
just
good
gonna
example.
say, you never know.
Maybe. All right, so we'll say USDC BUSD, or like DAI or something
Right.
like that. Unless you're staking something like that, where you can be pretty darn sure that it's not suddenly gonna like drop 20%.
Right.
Just know it exists and factor it marginally into your trading
It's
strategy.
pretty much just a part of doing business on crypto and DeFi.
Exactly.
Just a part of doing business.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I got this is part 2 from this question. And also, if you are hanging out listening, you can add some questions that you have for these guys in the chat, and I will go through and pick those up as well. Just keep
100%.
that in mind.
Also, does not have to be about 10Finance. You can literally ask us anything. If you want to hear about how Nubbers is doing today, I'll talk about how Nubbers is doing today. You can literally ask us anything within reason, you degens. Reason. So we have to clarify.
You got to
that
put
one
a
on there.
you got to put a disclaimer on everything around here.
Disclaimer within reason, but like you can just ask us about broad philosophies, opinions, facts, about our lives, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Or
it's
about
more
10.
fun
We
if
love
you
talking
help
about
out.
10 too. Yep.
Yeah, make sure you throw in some comments and questions, guys. It's an interactive show here. I got question 2 on this. It's a flash loan. This is for you, Mr. 10. You ready?
Sure.
He's fixing his hair. You ready?
I don't have any hair. I wish I did.
I don't either. No worries, brother. I got you. Question number 2 on this is it says flash loan exploits and Oracle manipulation exploits are becoming rampant these days. How will 10Finance prevent such from affecting its users? And what adequate security system have you put in place to protect said users?
Well, obviously, or one of the unfortunate instances of this whole DeFi thing is, flash loans. Flash loans were encoded into the whole Uniswap code, hence why they're available. They weren't meant to be used in a, I guess, dishonest, exploitative way, but did I say dishonest? Dishonest and exploitative way. But 10Finance, our emissions, they're not dependent on any form of, let's say, on-chain or off-chain price oracles. So therefore, our emissions, they're fixed at a fixed rate on a per block basis, and it's not vulnerable to price fluctuations. Therefore, flash loans in particular wouldn't necessarily, I'm not going to say be possible, because anything could be possible, but that is a safeguard that we put in place that will allow us to, I guess, somewhat protect our users when it comes to flash loan exploits.
Right. Being proactive in that area, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a global team of, our devs are pretty much, well, I'm going to say 24/7, but almost about, let's say, 18 to 20 hours a day, we've got our eyes on-chain activity with regards to our platform. We've got a great community that is very helpful. We've done several audits. Everything that we have actually used in our smart contracts has been from audited contracts, or we've done our own audits, which we feel that, although an audit is done by a human being, there is always room for error, and I think everybody knows this, in spite of several things that have even happened recently with audited contracts. But those are steps that we take to protect our users. And I think everybody that's known us from when we first started back in March was we were probably one of the first projects to do an audit pre-launch, and to do it with a name firm. Certic was who we used, but so from day one, security has been of absolute importance to our project, and giving that peace of mind given the space that we're in.
Right. Roger that. Cool. And then, Doc, you didn't have any follow up on that, did you? You want me to go to the next?
Yeah, we can just head
we'll
on
keep
over
it
to
moving.
the next. Yeah, let's keep it moving.
This is a good one here too.
Boy.
This must be one of your somebody from your chat, but I'm just going to read it in its entirety.
Is it my chat or Doc's chat?
Yours, Mr. Ten. You ready? All right.
Am I ready? I don't know.
Let's go. Mr. Ten is a legend in traditional finance. This must be one of your family members.
I'm just a regular guy.
Mr. Ten's a legend in traditional finance. He's about to succeed in the crypto world, and all those who discuss with him fall under his spell. My question is, how can he be so bad to this little games on our Telegram? I'm reading this verbatim. Does he have 2 left hands and 10 inches? Is he 82 years old? Is he a trunk man?
I have fat fingers. I think that's the problem. My fingers are too big. But I think my attention span is just too short to play these games.
Yeah, I understand.
And I'm sorry. The only game I think I can hold my ground is FIFA, and I haven't even played that since my son got old enough to use the PlayStation and play. So I don't even get any playtime. So I probably suck at that too now. But I'm sorry to disappoint you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Doc, you playing any games?
Not really. I mean, every so often, Limitless, I think he takes games off of Mr. Ten's chat. He'll come on in and just launch some game.
The first game I ever played was the 10,000 member one that you guys had.
Yeah.
Those little blocks. And I wasn't even that great at that either. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, Limit finds these games from somewhere, and then he launches them, and then I'll see your chat's playing games every so often. But I don't think I'm as bad as you are at these games from the sounds of it. But I'm certainly not good.
I think everybody is good. I'm usually last of everybody in the group. So
yeah, I usually have a firmly unimpressive showing, straight up in the middle, except for one game. One game
that would be quite an achievement for me.
There was one airplane game, I think, where I managed to get 4th, and I was very proud about that one.
Well, the airplane game, I was last. That was horrible. I got 5. I think I scored. Little plane, that's what it's called.
Yeah, I think I got 70 or something like that. But we have this one admin in our chat. It's Diane, and you may know him too. He just he cleans up. Like he gets like these absurd. I swear he's a robot. He has to be a robot.
If you think he's a robot, we have Mickey and Danica now. And I think Angel was in. I don't know. These guys are monsters when it comes to gaming. I'm like, what the? Like, I score a single-digit number. They're 40,000. I'm like, what? It's like I don't even bother with it. I'm like, whatever. You guys do whatever you want.
Awesome sauce. I got a couple coming in. You ready? This one's for the doc.
Prepared. I am prepared.
You stretched. How'd you get into rug doctoring, and what did you do before helping degenerates?
Got it. Yes. All right. So originally I was in biotechnology academia. I have a legitimate real PhD in biomedical engineering. So I studied that and did that sort of stuff. Then I took those skills and decided that I actually hated lab work and academia, which is a great reason to have gotten a PhD in those subjects, you know? Right. Yeah. Silly me. So I realized that I actually hated the most common job that you get with the degrees that I had. So I decided to go into law. And so I practiced intellectual property law in a large Silicon Valley law firm as a biotechnology specialist for a little while. I've been a crypto hodler for a while. It was kind of what got me through paying the bills for a lot of my grad school experience. And I was in grad school for a long time, so this was a good thing. Yep, so I was, just holding crypto, selling occasionally to like pay the bills. And then next thing I know, one of our friends, my husband and I, one of our friends introduced us to DeFi back over the winter, like back in January or so. Promptly got wrecked, totally got rugged. Yeah, it was a quick learning lesson because I was so excited. I staked my stuff and I was like, wow, man, this is amazing. I can get like 10,000% APR. If I stake like $5,000, I will be a billionaire in approximately 47 days. I did that math real quick. Exactly. I was like, sick.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm ready to be a billionaire in approximately 6 or 7 weeks. So did that and got wrecked and lost all my money, and so did my husband. And that was a bit of a wake-up call that scams were everywhere in DeFi.
Yeah.
So one of the things that my PhD was useful for was I learned a lot of programming languages, because when you're building devices that don't exist, you kind of need to program them to do the thing you want them to do. Yeah. So taught myself Solidity, started reviewing contracts for my own interests. And next thing you know, I was posting it here on Telegram, and here we are. 13,264 members later, 26-something thousand members on the tweeters, and this is my life now. It's a weird one. I don't practice law. I certainly am not in a lab. I am reviewing DeFi contracts, and it's great. I love it.
How long did that? What was the time span? How long did that take from the beginning to now, from your first experience?
From on DeFi?
From when you got wrecked and you were like, I got to figure this out.
Oh, it was like January. So January to now, which is like late August. So that's like 8 months-ish, 8, 9 months.
Fast learner.
Oh yeah,
not playing around.
That's the other thing, that PhD law experience will do for you. You learn to do your research and do it well. So yep, staked. Turned out I was not going to be a billionaire anytime soon. Lost a lot of money instead. But here we are with RugDoc, and it's a cool gig. I really like what I do now.
Yeah. Let's see if I got another one. That's appreciate that. That's good. So Tolga, it's coming to you, Mr. 10. You ready?
Sure. But before that, I do want to say something.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Jump in.
Jump in. I know I mentioned this to her previously, during our many discussions of absolutely nothing that has to do with DeFi. But and I told her this back in the days. I think when you guys had less than 1,000 members, what you're doing is great and something that the community needs, and we need a place. Not necessarily a regulator or a police officer, but somewhere. I don't want to call it a safe space, but somewhere where people actually learn. And I think it takes that one experience for that one person to change things. And I think the whole DeFi community not only BSC, but probably everybody that, Polygon or whatnot, all the other new chains that are coming out, I can't keep track. I'm sure everybody's thankful for what you guys are doing there. So keep up the great work. And I think everybody is probably happy you are no longer practicing law or stuck in a lab. So
I know, it's true. You were actually, Mr. Ten reached out when he was just starting his project and we started chatting. Turns out that, he's actually a fun person to chat with. So we were having like regular phone conversations as he set up Ten.Finance. And, I was talking about setting up RugDoc. And absolutely, he was one of the first people who was just like, so when you going to quit your job? And I was like, never. What? That's terrible. Why would I do that? And then sure enough, this thing ramped up and it's far more interesting, enjoyable than my law job. It's fun because both you and I and anyone who's here right now in DeFi, we have a chance to really build something. Like we are still early. Like it's repeated so often that it kind of loses its meaning, but we really are. We are so early in decentralized finance here. And
we are.
DeFi may not look like yield farms forever. I don't know what it's going to look like in 6 months or 6 years, but I really do believe that being able to directly transfer funds quickly, efficiently, and peer to peer, like truly letting you be your own bank, it is a global future and it's not stoppable. So it's really satisfying to be able to be here and just be a part of this very early community and help to grow it and grow with it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Because here's the thing, I come from traditional finance, and I feel like my kids and whoever has kids over the next several years is their experience with banking is going to be completely different.
100%.
Whereas before I used to feel safe thinking, hey, my money's in the bank. It's at the Bank of Switzerland or whatever. I mean, actually, that's probably the worst bank you can put your money in. But I feel safer having my crypto, whether it's stable coins or any crypto, in my personal wallet, hardware wallet, and I think everybody should have one, than having it in a bank, because I control it. I think going forward, traditional finance is going to be completely different. And I know big banks and regulators see that, and which is why they're trying to step in one way or another, trying to, what was this thing they were trying to pass recently, the infrastructure bill that was going to affect everybody in, DeFi. It's like, oh, you're doing yield farming? Well, or you did lending? Okay, fine. Now you got to send a 1099. Who am I sending it to? Okay, Telegram handle at RugDoc. Where can I send a 1099 to you? It's like, I'm borderless. But yeah, so anyways, I didn't mean to cut in. I just want to say thank you for quitting your job and doing the whole RugDoc thing. I think everybody is grateful for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Doc.
Yeah,
I got one.
Appreciate
I got one
you.
from Tolga coming in. This is from Mr. Ten. How capable is Ten.Finance mechanism on different chains? How many chains are you eligible to work on now?
Well, right now we're a one-chain project, Binance Smart Chain. We originally started our project on Ethereum back in September, October. And, we kind of got ready to deploy our contracts, and gas prices went crazy high. Ethereum price went from like, I don't know, $600-700 to $1,800. Gas was crazy. We're like, oh crap, let's just hold on. It's going to cost us like $30,000 to deploy these contracts, whatever it was. And then during that time, we're like, why don't we go to BSC? It's a smaller community, and we have more of a chance to maybe get our foot through the door and do something good than being in Ethereum. That's a different topic for a different day. But basically, any chain that is EVM, forked or based, similar to what's it called, or EVM compatible, I should say, Avalanche, Polygon, Eco, Ethereum, obviously going back to Ethereum, and Binance. We can technically go anywhere, but before going there, and I know a lot of projects have crossed over into Polygon, and now everyone's crossing over into Avalanche. as they were doing to Hiko just prior to all these jumping cross chains, is I want to perfect what we're doing on Binance and then think about going elsewhere. So it would be easy to go elsewhere and get a bigger market share than what we currently have on Binance. But I think if we're able to perfect what we're doing now, then going the cross chain, it's a simple process. I mean, it's simple, but it's not.
Right.
But it is, I guess, technically.
Yeah, makes sense. No worries. I got another question. This one here, it's who is Bruce Lee's brother?
Oh boy, who is Bruce Lee's brother?
Bruce
Let
Lee's
me
brother.
Google this
No,
one.
Hold on,
I
can
got
we
an
Google?
answer
Is that?
here.
Hold on, is Bruce Lee's brother?
Wait a minute, I posted this bad dad joke the other day. It's broccoli.
Broccoli, Bruce. Oh,
Yeah, I've been trying to post like a terrible joke of the day on Twitter.
I've seen a few of those.
I know.
And
They're
I
always...
actually got a couple of them. I'm like, oh, does that mean I'm a dad?
Well, hey man, if you have some excellent terrible jokes, please feel free to DM me or just post it in my chat, because I am regularly looking for new information now.
Oh yeah, can't help you there. I like laughing, but with regards to saying jokes and stuff, no, I'm not that guy.
No worries.
Yep.
Just a friendly reminder, if you're hanging out, appreciate you guys listening in. Don't be scared to put down questions or comments for the speakers. We can get to everybody's stuff. I noticed there's a lot going on out there. Doc, you good?
There is. I'm good. I'm great. I'm doing
You
A-okay
sure?
over here. Yep. So, I mean, we just have the usual, recently there's been a lot of these like pre-sale scams going on. And a pre-sale scam is like they don't even bother launching a farm. So they can submit contracts and then they just basically say, hey, we're going to give you tokens, give us money, we're going to launch this amazing farm. And then they just never launch the farm. There's really nothing that I can do about that, because there's farm contracts and I check farm contracts. But if they don't even bother launching a farm, you're basically just trusting giving money to random strangers on the internet and hoping that they're trustworthy enough to give you money back. So it looks like Sigma Farm, which is a farm that we reviewed as medium risk, I believe, medium or some risk. And they did get a good audit from, one of our preferred auditors from Paladin. But they apparently were saying that they were going to KYC with us at the start of layer 2, but they did not actually KYC with us. And so they just looks like they stole the pre-sale money and ran, which sucks.
Wow.
Yeah, real shitty.
Yeah, it seems to be a trend these days, and it's
like
100,000 here, 200,000 there, and it's just
totally. I think it's because it's a little bit harder since the community is a little more educated, and my team and other teams are growing. It's a little harder to pull off, like an easier rug where you just like throw in some crap code and like steal the funds. And so one of the only things that they're left with doing these days is to just not even launch a farm. Just try and get what they can in a pre-sale and peace out. And unfortunately, like there's no one, like not you nor I nor anyone in the sky is going to be able to predict if a pre-sale farm is going to actually wind up farming or if they're just going to steal your funds. It's a complete exercise of hope and trust.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of this whole thing, and it's like I feel like a lot of people that do want to get fully immersed into this DeFi space, a lot of them get discouraged if that's like the first thing they participate in. It's like, oh crap, I lost all my money. What do I do? Why am I going to trust this guy? Similar situation to what you went through. You could have simply said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go back to my lawyer days and continue on lawyering. But you didn't. Not everybody is going to take that approach. And like you said, it's like people would rather. I mean, now that the community is getting a lot smarter, it's going to be a lot more of these smaller type, I guess, like hit and run jobs. That people might consider or doing or whatever.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that trend. Pre-sale seems to be the more hot thing in the last, I'd say, week and a half. But even before
Hmm.
that, just, these softer, unpredictable, unfortunate
Yeah.
rubs.
I mean,
It's,
think about it this way. They'll say, hey, I'll pay 10 grand for an audit and run away with 200,000. It's a 20x
yep,
return on their money. They pay some kid, $400 to fork a code or whatever it is that has no idea what they're doing. Just
totally.
copy pasting, build a website, and it's a cost thing. You spend 15,000 to make 200 grand. Okay, fine.
Yeah, and it's true.
Do
And
it
like,
once a month. They're making money. It's a business. It's
yep,
unfortunate, but that's just a simple reality. I'm not here to.
totally,
We're not here
totally.
to sugarcoat anything, but those are just facts. Um, but
Yeah.
it sucks.
Cool. All right. Let's see. I got another question for Doc.
Sweet.
This is coming from Baby Yoda ETH.
Oh, Baby Yoda. Great
And
name.
Baby Yoda ETH would like to ask, what's the RugDoc check process like? Diff check against base master chef contract ? Use knowledge of previous scams, and what's your thoughts on VFAT, Immunify, Certec, or other auditors? If you want, I
Sure
can give you that back in
thing.
parts.
Oh, I'm reading it in real time on chat right
Cool.
now, and I see Rose yelled at him, which is kind of funny.
Mm.
Love Rose. You gotta
She's
deal with her.
everywhere.
She is everywhere. You love to hate her, but you need her.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so our check is anybody from anywhere can request any, farm, DEX, AMM, whatever, DeFi project in our Telegram channel. And we have a specific format that you follow. If you follow the format, your request will get swept up by a bot and it will get sent to a nice private little review chat where me and Carlos and Dan and all of our scanning team, like Amadist and Choas and Jay and like all of our fantastic humans, we all kind of hang out back there. And as the requests come in, we go through them together, and we will usually throw up a diff check of them against whatever an established audited parent fork is. So it could be something like Goose or Pancake Swap or I don't know, Panther or what have you. And we basically go through and we look for differences in the code, what has been added, what has been removed. And this is how we do these things very quickly and in bulk because, we're reviewing, 10 farms, sometimes even 20 farms, pending how bad our backlog got a day.
Right.
And so we're able to just like kind of quickly hone in on differences and try and figure out if they are malicious or if they are not malicious or what the changes have been in this code. And then we just assign a uncoded risk assessment to them. So it could be, medium risk, which is something that probably has a reasonable amount of custom code. And while we didn't see anything that looks malicious, it's something that we can't 100% vouch for because it's important to realize what we do is not an audit. We are not auditors. We are not spending hours on each of these projects. Our goal is to provide quick, bulk, free, and accessible reviews in volume for you guys, like as they come. Like we get stuff out within minutes to 36 hours, which is how we get through so many. And again, there's going to be limitations to that process and that we're not digging deep into a farm that has 20 contracts. So we basically just diff against the base master chef. We also do use a knowledge of our previous scams. We keep a pretty comprehensive scam and exploit library, both that we publish on our wiki.rugdoc.io, and we also keep one internally that we check against. We're both checking for scams and we're just checking for differences in general and trying to figure out if there could be a risk that is encoded in a project. I love VFAT. So I know the next part was what are your thoughts on VFAT, Immunify, Certic, and other auditors? I personally love VFAT's tools and website. I don't think I've seen a VFAT audit recently, but that's interesting. I'll have to go check it out. Certic, I am not typically a big fan of. They're not bad, but they're not good. And they're very slow and they're very expensive for the quality of the product that they give. They also do tend to miss a reasonable amount of exploits, bugs, and even rugs, because they're not user oriented. So I don't love Certic, even though Certic is kind of somehow the gold standard. It's not a secret that I've officially partnered with Paladin, because I know their team. I work with their team. I've worked with their team from the beginning, and I really trust the quality and scope of their work. But I also really like a couple others. I really like Trail of Bits. I really like Consensus. I really like Halborn. Halborn is amazing. They're also a newer audit firm that's like out there, and I really like the quality of their audits that I've seen so far.
Cool. Awesome.
Yep. ImmuneFi is firmly in the middle for me. They're okay. They're cool. They're okay. I don't love them, but they're not the worst. I would say the worst is probably like TechRate, but that's also not exactly a secret. I don't think anybody really trusts TechRate these days.
Womp womp.
But yeah.
Cool. All right. I got another question lined up. This one is for Mr. 10, and it's a long one. I'm trying to read through it so I can get it all in my head here.
Sure.
But it's the question from Leo Paul, if you're following along. But he opines there are too many governance tokens, chains, cryptocurrencies nowadays, and then asks, how will the mass adoption look like? Like if 10Fi and I want to use 10Fi to pay for something in the future, would I have to convert to BUSD, USDT first? Maybe 10Fi can come in and create a unique utility for stores that can insert values they would like to receive, and people can pay with whatever coin they have in their pocket, a POS system or something. What were you thinking?
I think he's thinking we're going to be the next Amazon. But one thing I've maintained, and I think I've said this, anybody that knows me personally, the last probably 4 years, about 4 or 5 years, especially the last 3 that I've been fully in this development. Prior to 10Fi, we were involved with another project, and I always maintained that future of money lies in private corporations, or not necessarily private corporations, but private money. People are always like, oh, government this, government that. No, people should be afraid of the Googles, the Facebooks, and I know Facebook's trying to create that money or monetary system with well, they changed the name recently. I forget what it is, but the feds and the government quickly stepped in, and they kind of put a muzzle on it. But with regards to future money, and I think it's going to be interchangeable through these private monies. It's going to be, we look at the decentralized exchange like a DEX, like a PancakeSwap or a Uniswap. There's going to be large aggregators similar to a 1inch, where it's like the central hub. When you trade traditional finance or traditional equities or FX, we have this thing called an ECN. It's an electronic communication network. ECN is where everybody kind of feeds liquidity. Everybody from Goldman Sachs to a mom and pop hedge fund that wants to provide liquidity, similar to a DEX, right? We are all those mom and pop shops that are providing liquidity. We get a proportion of fees, and that's the service that we provide. Hence the the LPs and the IL or whatever it is. So we get paid for that as well. It's not just the IL portion of it. So I think in the future, it's going to be this big decentralized exchange of things, Internet of Things. I think that's what they were trying to go with. In terms of converting from a BUSD, USDT, and I think it's a very long question, but long story short is, to get mass adoption, I think we need to find an easier on-ramp, right? The easiest way to on-ramp users is through, how do you on-ramp somebody? If somebody that does not have cash to buy crypto, how do you give it to them? How do they buy it? They need an exchange account, right? They need to go onto Binance or any other exchange, unless one of us sends them crypto. The easiest way to do that, or to kind of get beyond that, is one thing that we're actually trying to do is allow users to buy our own token through a Visa and MasterCard and Union Pay or whatever it is, so that users can easily on-ramp and buy the token, whether they're staking or providing LP or whatever it is. That's the next step. And then beyond that is going to be the, how do you create value for something that hasn't been traded? What if, let's say, 10.5 token, and I want to buy some RugDoc tokens? How do I do that?
There will never be RugDoc tokens.
Well, I'm just saying, just for example, like if I'm trying to get your services or vice versa or whatever it is. So until that's really there, it's a long ways away. Well, maybe not that long, but I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see more of these private entities or larger corporations creating their own internal currencies. And I think the future of money probably relies in private money, whereas government money will just be used for, I don't know, whatever is taxation or whatnot. But
and for like just propping up fiat, like the government's not going to willingly move away from, their own
financial system.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, look at Japan. The Bank of Japan's been trying to, create some sort of, fight inflation, or they're in a deflationary economy, or so they say.
Yep.
And look at the United States. They want to pump in another $3.5 trillion with this latest infrastructure bill. I mean, who and how are they going to ever pay this off? No, they're not.
No, we're not.
The only way that you will is through crazy hyperinflation. It's like, oh, look, that $1 we had is $100 now, guys. We just paid off our debt. We just 100x our USD. It's like that meme, when does BUSD go to 100x or something or whatever? I've seen those.
Yeah.
But it's technically that's what needs to happen.
Right.
And I think crypto, in particular, in the yield farming, which is why I kind of went back to this is the new era of banking, is it allows people, the regular person, to maybe fight off this inflation that is existent in everybody's eyes except for the Feds and other, government banking officials, IMF, ECB, whoever you want to name. What inflation? Inflation doesn't exist. It's at 2%. I'm like, I'm sorry, milk costs 20% more than it did last week. If anybody's had kids in the last 10 years, they know the price of milk, what it was back then to what it is right now, is not what inflation has been told to us. It's just little things like that. Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, Leo, but
Go ahead, Doc, jump in.
I was just saying that I was actually reading an article last night that was talking about inflation, since it's kind of hard to cover it up at this point, at least in the United States, because for the longest time, we were passed so many of these stimulus bills, and they've just been pumping more and more money, and the government was like, oh no, it's just normal inflation. Oh no, there's nothing strange going on here. And meanwhile, like you said, we've been watching prices climb quickly, like gas and milk and wood and building supplies.
Big time.
Yeah, and it's very hard to try and reconcile that with what our government's been telling us, which is like, oh no, it's just normal and fine. It's like, I don't remember lumber suddenly jumping up like 4x in price in any years that I've been alive previously. But anyways, I was reading an article.
$5,000 a square foot to build a house.
Totally, and like it's absolutely happening. And so I was reading an article that was actually like quantifying in a real estate sense, because that's the other thing I do. My husband and I, we like buy, renovate, and rent houses. So I was reading like a real estate inflation article last night, and it was literally talking about how if inflation keeps going the way that it is, and the housing bubble keeps moving the way that it has, even with a correction in the next 10 years, the average home price could be approximately $10 million, which is crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not sure like how valid their math was, but they were working through it, and it was not implausible the way that they laid it out. They're like, yeah, so if you have inflation that's like rising at 6% a year, and the average price is right now, single family home in 10 years could totally cost an average of $10 million.
I'll tell you this right now, it's very possible, because going back to economics, right? 30 years ago, China was a very small player in the global GDP phase, right? It was non-existent. It was barely top 10. And going back further than that, even the Soviet ruble, the Russian ruble, at one point was more valuable than the US dollar. Now I think it's like 60, 70, whatever rubles per dollar. So what makes us think that the US dollar, the value of it today, wouldn't be, let's say, 100 times less than what it's worth today? Technically, since the Fed came into office and and in particular, since Nixon took us off the gold standard back in '71, which was actually the 50-year anniversary. What was it 2 weeks ago or a week ago on the 15th? It's not going to depreciate the value of the dollar. So what you're saying is the average price of the home being $10 million, that's probably today's maybe 500,000 or whatever. It's very possible, and it's, I think the global financial and economic picture that we see today compared to, let's say, 20 years from now, is going to be completely different. The biggest economies in the world are going to be completely different, 30 years from now. That's 100% given. And it's possible that the average home in the middle of America, where right now it's at maybe 150,000, 200,000, it's 10 million.
Yep.
And it's very possible.
It is. Yep. And I
Then
know,
we'll definitely be
also
farming.
I know, countries like Russia and China, who are, maybe not Russia, but China, are absolutely aggressively growing and consolidating like financial dominance. These countries have already said that they're looking to move away from pegging to the US dollar.
Oh yeah,
So,
100%. I
yeah.
mean, China is
Like
already doing business with Europe with
They are.
euro denomination.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
before everything was in US dollars. Even Chinese exports to Europe was being paid in dollars.
Yep.
I think it was a couple of years ago. They're like, hey, we want euros. So
Yeah, no, there have been like several official treaties that have happened in the last few years between various countries that are basically committing to depegging from the US dollar. So it's interesting, but that's also part of the reason why I really like DeFi, because it gives me a global alternative to any one country's currency, which is liable to like change pending, who's doing what when and who's in a treaty with who, and just, general shifting of like global economies.
Well, I mean, that's been one thing about the U.S. kind of trying to control that narrative by,
They do.
putting global sanctions. It's like, hey, you can't do business with Venezuela. I'm gonna ban all the milk coming to your country. It's like, okay, crap. Our babies need milk or whatever. It's just one of those things where I think sooner than later that's gonna stop. The world's not gonna just stand there and be like, okay, fine. No one's gonna care. And it's already at that point, I feel like. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not a politician, nor would I ever want to be. But.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. We're getting right to the hour. How are we doing on time?
I mean, I'm good. It depends on how you all are doing. I can chat for a little while longer.
I can keep going for the next 3 days if you guys want me to.
You don't want to get Doc going. You'll be here for 3 days.
Cool. That's fine. That's why we're on this chat.
It's true. It's true. Like, we can chat for a little while. I do have to hop off in another hour, though. So we have maximum 1 more hour of the shenanigans. But yes,
cool. I got it right here. Awesome. So
but we don't
keep
have
the
to go
notes
for
too.
another hour too. Yeah, we can just we
if you
can
gotta
see where everything
whenever
goes.
Whenever you guys are bored and
It's true. Maybe if the chat starts rioting, we can just end our voice chat.
Yeah, I haven't seen any hands being raised trying to be like, get off the line. But
cool. I got another one for you. You ready, bud? It's coming in hot. It's for you.
Oh, awesome.
No, it's jet fuel asking. There are so many DeFi / yield farmings out there. 10.Finance is not very high APR yet. Also, not very low APR. But what makes 10.Finance different from others and attract more investors to invest in it?
I love this question. At this point in time, from a yield optimizer perspective, indeed, we are not any different than many others that are out there. Now, to his question, we don't have very high APR yet, and we never will have high APRs or too low APR. We took I'm not going to say survey, but for this, I'll just say we basically looked at all the other yield optimizers and yield farms, in particular yield optimizers that we were going to, let's say, benchmark ourselves against. Looked at their emission rates in terms of daily, token emissions, and we are probably anywhere between 5 to 10 times longer in terms of hitting our max capacity. 10Fi emissions will run out in about 5.5 years, or maybe 5 years and 4 months or 6 months. I haven't done the actual math.
Right.
Hence the reason why we have low APRs. Now, I always maintain that we are going to have quality farms, and we don't want to just list any. I mean, you can go to other farms or yield optimizing. There might be 5,000 farms to sort through. Ours is probably a handful or whatnot, and liquid farms, so that there is no issues with regards to random loss of liquidity.
Right.
Or the project just disappearing.
Well, yeah, the APRs rise as the risk increases, right? So
Absolutely.
Right, that makes sense.
For us, I think anybody that's been in our community can attest to the fact that, hey, what about partnership X, partnership Y? The typical partnership these days is, hey, Mr. 10, let's do a partnership with our farm. Sure, how does that look like? Yeah, you give me your tokens, I give you mine. You give me a farm, I give you a farm. My guys farm and dump your tokens, and your guys farm and dump my tokens. That is a simple reality. But as shitty as it sounds, excuse my language, but that is the reality of things. So how are we going to differentiate is from the beginning, simplicity is a goal of ours, of 10Fi. And, we kind of took the steps, and we're getting to this mythical thing called the YieldX. I think everyone's been hearing it forever. But the first step we took was to allow people to basically buy our token directly on our website rather than going to, let's say, PancakeSwap or anywhere else, which is the first thing that we did. Somebody goes into our website, like, oh, this is cool, I want to buy. Okay, fine, click the buy button. It's already there, connect your wallet, you can buy the tokens. The second step was to creating the LP tokens. Oh, look, this is a cool token. I want to create an LP for it. Okay, how do I do that? Oh, let me just click the button. Oh, okay, I don't have to go to PancakeSwap, create the LP, go back to 10Fi to then deposit my token, where we just allow you to do everything on our website, on our platform, rather than going beyond that. And what the next step is to actually allow people through YieldX and through our upcoming 10 lots, which is in direct correlation to the YieldX, is to have some sort of a utility with regards to our token, other than farming and selling. I know a lot of people that have actually used our platform to deposit a decent amount of money in the farms, and utilize our tokens as passive income. Now, people that have 10Fi tokens will actually be able to earn passive income of BNB or BUSD through the YieldX. And in order to do that, is you need to hold 10Fi tokens, and you need to, I guess, claim your lots through the 10 lots. There's more information that we're going to be releasing over the next couple of weeks. We are completely done testing on the UI aspect and the smart contract aspect with regards to the YieldX and the 10 lots. It will be sent to the auditors, and hopefully as soon as we get that, we will launch, and therefore creating some sort of utility where our token is being used more than to just be sold, other than, speculation. Because that's the reality of it. I can probably point to 99 out of 100 farms and yield optimizers. That is exactly what's happening. Farms sell the token. Farms sell the token. But that's just the way it is. That's why there's just so many farms coming and going, and so many people attracted to farms that have these crazy, as everybody calls degen rates, where we never did. It's to me, coming from traditional finance, even the stuff that we have on our platform is ridiculously high. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, super.
My institutional clients, these are pension funds. Their magic number was 8. 8% per annum. Okay.
That was it.
Yep, that's
8%
the number.
a year.
Yep,
8%. That is all they wanted. That is all CalPERS or the Pennsylvania State pension system. That's all they would ever want.
Yep. I actually just advertised in my email yesterday for a 6 savings account that offered me 1% APY.
Wow.
Tempting, folks.
1% APY on your US dollars while they take your money and rehypothecate
Yes.
that, lever that about 100 times.
Yeah.
I
Make a
think
bunch
that
of money on
actually-
it and give the doc 1%, be like, here you go, you are special.
I think that actually puts me at a loss if I start to account for inflation. Like, I think I actually
Yeah.
lose money by sticking it in a 1% APY account
You do.
at the inflation that we have. I think I'm
Yeah.
actually like losing some percentage a year, which is
100%. That's 100%
fun to
guarantee that
think
you're going
about.
to lose money.
You lose.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Get those dollar bills out of your hands.
I know. I
Get
was
'em
like,
away.
oh, wow, 1% APY. And it's like over 18 months, like some promotion deal too. I'm like, goodness, you're just really
It's
throwing
like
it at
those
me, huh?
lockup periods. Oh, 60-month CD for
Yeah.
1.25%. It's like, okay,
Yep.
sure, here you go. Here's my money.
Yikes.
It's like,
But
oh,
the
you want
sad
to do $1
thing-
million? Uh-huh.
The sad thing though is like people, even fairly smart people, just are really missing financial fundamentals. And the reason that these things even exist is because there are takers who put their money into these funds.
Well,
Mhm.
I
Or
mean,
take these accounts out. Like, it's a thing.
But look,
People
here's the
invest
thing though,
in
right?
CDs that have like that are losers, essentially, that complete losses. And they think it's great because it's quote unquote safe.
Exactly, and that reminds me of my father-in-law. He was always like, "Oh, put your money into these, fixed assets and blah blah blah. Here's a CD as a wedding gift for you." And my daughter, I was like, "Oh, it's a 60-month CD. When do I get this money out?" But it's one of those things where it's also a fact of preconditioning as to, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you save money. This is how you invest your money by going to these traditional ways of quote unquote saving and earning interest. But at the same time, is a lot of people do not want to take the responsibility into their own hands of owning their own keys. It's a big responsibility.
It is.
Mhm.
I've lost funds before. I literally lost keys when I was like a newbie into crypto, and
I think everybody has.
Yeah, it's like I have, I think, like $40,000 just floating around somewhere, which is a lot of money. And I would love to have that $40,000 back, but I can't because I lost the keys because rest in peace me while I was learning.
Yeah, I mean, and it's unfortunate, and there's people that have lost maybe more than that or just about that. But the point is, the majority of the people like it when somebody else will take responsibility, and there's somebody to fall back on. It's like, oh, hey, it's Doc's fault.
Yeah. Do you think it could be just like a financial literacy issue where there, nobody is taught these things in public school generally, or?
Some of it is,
yeah. I mean, they don't teach you finance in school.
No.
Or money.
Right,
I shouldn't say finance. Money.
I do the financial management, and I mean finance, not money, although money's a part of that. I do the financial management for my mom, and quite a lot of my family, because they just they never learned what compound interest means, like really basic things that you need to understand if you actually want to learn how to save and create a retirement fund, or meet a large target like a down payment for a house. They just simply don't understand compound interest, or leveraging interest. If I can get a loan for 3%, but I know I can make money at 10%, why would I not take the 3% loan? Because they just
100%.
think that taking a loan and borrowing is bad, because
That's
you're taking out credit.
That's exactly like my dad.
That's my dad
Totally
too.
my mom. It's 100%. I'm like, no, Mom, you don't understand. If
It's
I
like, take that money and use it to make more money.
Exactly. I'm like,
Bro.
Mom, you take that freaking 3% loan and you just borrow the maximum, you pay the minimum on that, and you stick it in the stock market. Like, goodness.
100%. You're making money. That's a 3x on your money.
Yeah.
Totally. It's just because, they don't understand the basic math that underlies that calculation, because they don't understand compound interest. And then on top of that, that generation was completely told that borrowing is bad. You want to pay the maximum amount on your mortgage every month. You want to pay that house down immediately.
Pay it off.
And that's not because that is like the lowest free money that you're ever going to get, probably in most countries. It's going to be your mortgage, because they're going to give you 30 years or more, pending where you live, to pay that thing off at some very, very low
Ridiculously
rate that the
low.
market will basically guaranteed to surpass. But that generation was told, like, don't carry debt, don't owe anything to anyone, you need to pay off the maximum, you pay as much of your paycheck as you can every month for until that thing is paid off. And it's a terrible way to actually understand how to build wealth.
Yep.
Which
You
is, I
don't
think,
build
why a
wealth
lot of
in that way.
you don't build wealth that way. People who build wealth
No.
are people who understand how to leverage, and people who invest, and investing involves borrowing often. It's
Yep.
people who invest in real estate, or who invest in some company or a business, or they'll put $20,000 into something hoping that it'll make $100,000 later. You owe people things, but hopefully you've done your calculation correctly that you'll earn more than what you're putting forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, everything is a
Don't
written
wreck yourself.
calculated risk at the end of the day.
Yes.
But I think you're right to the point where a lot of people, or especially the older generation, the older generation by literally going back one generation, or two, however, depending on how old anybody is. I'm old enough to be most people's dad, probably in the chat. That's just the way it is. Like my dad, he doesn't want to owe anybody any money. He does not want to have any money on loans or credit. He's the guy that's like, hey, buy gold, buy silver, because I understand his way of thinking, but it doesn't really hold its value. And there's this funny statistics, and it wasn't this actually. I don't want to say argument, but I had this discussion about some guy and how gold is better to hold and this and that. And if you go back to 1913, or when did the Fed, whenever the Fed was established, or whatever it is, and if you take the price of gold per ounce relative to what the price of gold per ounce is today, it's literally the same. It's about $36 an ounce. To the amount, or to the level that the dollar has lost its buying power, I think it's like to 100% now.
Yeah.
The price of gold is literally the same price. So it's not that gold itself has lost value or increased in value. It hasn't. It stayed the same. It's just that the dollars have lost value. It's like Peter Schiff. He's from that ancient era of let's stick this shiny rock into a big box, and in case I need to run away, I can't take my wealth with me because it's too heavy for me to carry, so I'll just put two rocks in my pocket and run. I don't know how we ended up on this conversation.
These conversations always pop up when you do a shoot the shit chat. It's just because you just wind up talking about like the broader financial system and why it's like screwed. But hey, I mean, it's true because
it's all propaganda. It's all propaganda. They have been able to brainwash people into thinking that people need a bank account, people need a savings account, in order to save. Trust me, the bank.
I think
give
it'll
me
be
your
really
money.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see the wealth building of Gen Z, who have kind of grown up with a more crypto, you're your own investor, entrepreneurial, like this more digital currency generation than previous generations. Because if you look at like Gen X and, millennials, especially older millennials, they got like massively screwed. And I think a lot of that does come from just, your parents in this generation passing down. You go to school and you take all the student loan and you pay it off immediately, and you go and get that first house and you pay it off immediately, and you put your money in your 401k, and you just put your money, if you have any more, in Merrill Lynch or Vanguard accounts with your company saving plan, and you take out that savings account and you put 30% of your paycheck in that savings account, and that's how you retire.
You just read out the playbook of how to save your money, or how to start a savings account after college.
Totally. Like, because that's what everybody had been told, because that's what they learned. Because our parents' generation, if you look at their parents, they lived through the Depression. These are people who learned that lending is bad. So they told their kids that lending is bad and you pay for everything up front. And then they told their kids, but unfortunately, the prices of minimum wage and inflation
Yeah.
has not kept pace with what it was in
No.
1950 or 1970 or even 1980. So that falls apart
No.
now. And so,
Yeah.
you get Gen X who fell through the cracks, you get the older millennials who fell through the cracks. So I'm really curious to see if, Gen Z taking matters into their own hands and maybe thinking a little more critically and having just a wider variety of options, if they manage to, succeed despite, not being able to really play by the traditional playbook anymore.
I think for the most part they will be. And I think I see it because just the way kids are growing up these days. I think there was a survey. When was Fortnite really hot? Like a year ago or 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was like 1 to 2 years ago.
So when that thing was hot, and the makers of Fortnite, they ran this survey and they asked all these kids that are playing the game, is, hey, if I can give you $100, which in cash, or $100 in I think they call it V-Bucks, what would you, or $100 equivalent, which one would you rather take? They'd rather take the digital money. And I think this new generation is going to be growing up in this environment where digital currencies, and I think this kind of goes back to the question that Leo had asked.
All right, we still with me?
Um, cross payments or whatnot, whatever POS is. I'm sorry.
Oh,
you
sorry
just cut
about
out
that.
for a second, but you're back. You're back. You're
Oh,
here.
somebody was calling me, and then I think I was talking to myself.
Nice.
What did I miss? What did you guys miss?
I think we mostly are tracking that, the Fortnite kids were given the option and they chose digital currency.
Yeah,
Good.
so I think the kids these days are more, and I'll tell this right now. So I'll give you an example. My brother-in-law, his kids are gamers. They play these things, and I'm full time into this whole crypto thing, right? I've tried to in the past tell him about digital currencies, but he is the guy. He's an older millennial. I think maybe mid 40s, late 40s, but I haven't been able to convince him, and nor is it my job to be like, hey, do this, do that, or whatever. But I have told him, hey, look into this, do that. Don't always just put all your eggs into this basket or whatever. And he's just like, no, I'm good. I like my money in the bank, and whatever bank of XYZ. I'm going to keep my money there. So it also has to do with a lot of the parents that are going to shape these kids as well. Because being a parent myself, I kind of see my kids talking like me, where I'm like, well, do I sound like that? And I can tell they're literally mimicking myself or my wife. So and my kids already know about Bitcoin and Ethereum and cryptocurrencies. What 5-year-old talks about Bitcoin? They know that
Apparently yours.
Well, it was cool because my son we were talking about volcanoes one day, and then the whole Ecuador, not Nicaragua thing came up where they're using a volcano to mine Bitcoin. So I showed my kids. They're like, wow, this is pretty cool. And it's just I think it has a lot to do with the parents of the kids, but I feel like the next generation is going to fully take this into a different level, especially with this P2E, the play to earn games. I mean, I wish if I was any good at gaming, that's what I'd be doing right now. Playing some Axis Infinity or something.
Well, luckily, you're literally Bagman over here. He is the one who has been leading one of the major thrusts on RugDoc in Axie. So he is the man to talk about your breeding, smooth love potion.
So hold on. Do I need any actual skill to play this, or can I just
Yo, you got all the skills you need, boss. You just jump right in. It's really not hard. There's two different sides to it. There's the breeding side, and then there's like the playing with the axes and having like a fighting team side. So if you're more on the breeding side, it's more like just
I like to build things, so I guess I would be a breeder.
Yeah, you can build up your cool badass thing, because every time you breed, you get like different stuff, and it can be worth some pretty good money, and then you combine it with other stuff and make it cool.
So is there how much money do I need to start playing this?
It depends on what your goals are really. If you wanted to start playing it tomorrow, and let's say that you had, you know, no extra money you wanted to throw in, people can start with you know, a scholarship and kind of grind their way up. If you wanted to take over and have like
Scholarship.
a,
I'm not,
it's
what am I?
yeah, the scholarships are like folks that cannot afford the price to purchase an Axie team, which could be, you know, $1,500 depending on the
I would
price of
not
Axies.
qualify for a scholarship. I mean, you guys already
No,
know my
not
history.
you personally.
It's like, hey guys, I'm here for the scholarship. I'm sorry, it's closed.
Not for you, sir. Not for you.
Yeah, you got to have a left and a right thumb. I heard you only got two lefts. Some of these kids are really good. They're badass players. If you can't, you know, keep up, then you can't earn your keep, and then the scholars kind of, you know, you get dumped from that
You
scholar
get
team.
canned. Oh
Yeah.
man.
But you can go down a level. You know, they got some one of the guys in our admin chat, he gets the floor axes and that's what he uses. So, you know, if you get one of those, the expectations are real low. But if you got a couple
Axie,
more,
huh? Is that what I should
yeah,
get?
the
Yeah,
floor
they're like the
axes
low
are,
level axes.
that's like the floor price. Like $200 might be the floor. That means there's nothing below that.
Oh,
So you
like,
could get
okay.
three of those, $600, and then you're playing with it's a trash team. You're not going to win a whole lot. You're not going to make a whole lot of money, but nobody gets mad if you get beat up on all day. But
I think I need to spend an entire day on on how to play this thing.
yeah,
So,
there's a lot to it. There's a lot more to it than folks realize when they first look at it.
do I need a high-end computer?
No, you can use
No.
a cell phone. I mean, there's a really cool, if you're interested, and you know, some of the folks listening too, this is good advice if you have a free moment. There's a documentary on YouTube called Play to Earn, and it goes through a whole bunch of cool stuff about the Axie Infinity world and the people that are playing it, and it'll give you an idea of like the major base of users, of how they actually are earning a living, making more
I
money than they
saw
made
this.
before. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
I
mean,
saw it.
Axie is basically and has been essentially like propping up the economy of the Philippines.
Yes, I
Which
think
is
that's
what
the
that
one that I
documentary
saw.
talks. Yeah,
Right? Yes.
through COVID,
Yeah.
you know, you have people who like lost their jobs, can't work in an economy that's already really, really shaky, and literally these people have been using Axie Infinity and other play to earn games to survive. And
Yes,
you know, there's
Baymax
stores.
sent me this
Yeah, and
documentary.
there's
Now I
stores,
remember.
like actual real stores that are accepting, you know, like AXS and like SLP and stuff like that. It's crazy. It's a very, very interesting little social experiment to go watch. Like what has happened with P2E in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No wonder nobody's farming on our Axie's vaults. That's why they're spending it on the game.
That's right.
Yeah, yep.
Go to watch. So that kind of gives you an idea. That's a scholarship entry, but they have, if you wanted to breed your own farm, you can go in with a couple $1,000.
Can we start our own university or something?
Yeah.
Like a 10-5 scholarship program? I think a couple of people are doing it. Is that what it is? Because I've seen it, but I just haven't.
That's exactly what that is. And, you know, you can even hire folks for a fee. It's usually like 5% or something, and they'll manage it for you. They'll take care of all the things, and then you can have your own little scholarship squad running, and it gives you passive income. You know, it comes at you know, twice a month.
All right, I'm taking applications. Go on. Come on, people. you know how to get hold of me.
All right.
Just don't ever let me play. Don't ever let me play.
Yeah, come back with no SLP. Your scholar's gonna be real mad.
Say, hey guys, I lost everything.
Yeah, it's badass. If you ever get a chance to go check out some videos on YouTube and just see what it's about, recommend it 100%.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, on the side note, you were correct. 1913 was the Federal Reserve.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
I better know that. Jeez.
Yeah, look at that fact checking action.
Yeah, if you were wrong, I wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, no, I
kept this
had
in myself.
I've had to listen to all the Fed chairman and the ECB chairman and all those people and the BOJ, what's it called, the chairman and all that for 20-something years now. So
I get triggered.
Indeed.
I got one other thing too. I was following up on.
Yes, sir.
I was just kind of going back to the whole financial literacy and talking a little bit about you know, that generation. You ever watch Dave Ramsey or hear anything Dave Ramsey says? I think that could be a part of that too. It seems like that would be like You know,
Dave Ramsey is an interesting character. The reason
that sums up everything.
the reason I say that is because I actually did speak with him and his assistant, or I forget what you call her, but it was for a friend of mine that was setting up a gold and silver brokerage, and we wanted to set up something for them to be able to, I guess, create like some sort of a partnership, education kind of thing. And his thing is, I don't really care about that or whatever. This is like years ago, but it's yeah, I don't know. He's a fun person to listen to.
I think that might be where folks get some of that stuff.
Probably.
I think that's
He's
where
got a pretty big audience. I mean,
oh my goodness.
He's
Especially
I
East
didn't
Tennessee.
really know he was that big, to be honest with you.
It hadn't occurred to me, but when I saw like a couple seconds of what was going on, I was like, oh my goodness. And I just couldn't.
Yeah. Yep.
Triggered. I got an incoming. Doc, did you want to follow up on that quick?
No, not particularly.
Cool.
No, we can good. Yeah, because I mean, I probably have to like hop off sooner than later at this point, since we are another half hour in. But yeah, like let's shoot a few more questions out. Let's go.
I got one from the audience. I'm gonna let this person speak. It could go either way. So if it's nonsense, I'll have to cut it off. Hold on. All right. Suckies, can you hear me? You good to go? I got you're muted. Take yourself off mute. All right, Tuckies is not ready for the game. They put their hand up and they have a Tennessee flag flying, so I figured maybe that was coming from your
man,
crew,
I think you shouldn't let those guys ask questions.
Lifetime ban. All right, that's right. Ban. Cool. I got my my questions all mixed up here. Where did I go?
It's okay, just pick one.
Yeah, I got to bring them back up because I clicked. When I accepted the thing for Mr. Tuckensy, it jacked up my questions.
Oh no.
Definitely gonna have a talk with them. That's for sure.
I mean, I can tell you random thought that I've just been thinking about since we had, our little tangent off into finances and savings and old generations and new generations is after my dad died, my brother and I each got 50% of my dad's old IRA that he had, because my dad died kind of young. And so he had an IRA that he hadn't executed yet because he was not retired when he died. And my brother and I each got 50-50 of this thing. It had been sitting in a Merrill Lynch shitty account that was like mostly bonds and like some unfortunate like internal funds.
Yeah.
And it was like making less than what you should be making in the market by a long shot. Like it wasn't even close. It was making like freaking 1 to 2% a year when we were having, like during peak Trump's presidency when we had those crazy stock rushes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like looked at this, I analyzed it for a year. I didn't touch the funds. I kept it in that stupid Merrill Lynch account, just like letting them do their thing so I could like get a whole year's worth of data. Brother did the same thing. Brother is not very financially savvy. We love him. Thankfully, he's also not a listener here, but we love him, but he's a financial moron. And, I looked at my 1 year of data and I said, this is crap. This is not working. You can make so much more if you literally just like put this with a private financial advisor or yourself in the in a broader like S&P 500 tracking thing, not some Merrill Lynch internal shit fund. And removing most of your bonds, because if you're like in your 20s or 30s, you really shouldn't have bonds. There's no reason to have freaking bonds when you're like 25.
Yeah, that's like grandpa talk.
Exactly. And then taking some of those bond funds and literally turning it into crypto. And if you're like crypto averse or you don't want to learn or you're not a technical person, sticking it into like Grayscale or some other crypto tracking fund, right? So I quickly did the math, came to my brother with my findings. I'm like, this is shit. Don't do this. This is what I'm doing. Here's the information I found. My brother was like, nah, man, Merrill Lynch said that they're legit and that you're crap. I'm like, oh, okay. Because he called the bank with, I had already talked to Merrill and I was like, dude, I'm withdrawing my funds. Thank you. Have a nice day. This isn't working out. Told my brother. He goes to the bank and, Merrill Lynch is all like, no. she's incorrect. We are the
We'll
best.
give you an extra 0.1%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, we are going to give you a retirement. And I was like, bro, I literally made you like a bunch of spreadsheets here that show like anticipated growth of that fund versus like what it should be doing. And it doesn't match up. And he was like, no, they told me that you're a liar and you're cranky and you just don't like them for personal reasons. And I'm not going to do it. I'm keeping my funds here because, you know, they told me that they're the best. I was like, okay, cool. And here we are several years later. And, you know, I'm just going to say the difference is massive between our investment approaches. Truly massive. Yes. Someone has a grandpa fund and someone is over here, you know, making dubious DeFi moves, but actually paying the bills and then some because, you know, I moved my shit into crypto and actually started managing my own stock funds and actually started, you know, taking a few more, you know, not Merrill Lynch moves, we'll say.
Yeah, you never want to ask a banker about whether or not they have a solid, whether they have a solid.
God, no.
Think about it this way: how much do banks actually need to have on deposits when they lend you $1? At one point, it was literally 0 cents.
Yep.
Okay, a few years back, meaning that commercial banks are making money out of thin air. So when they give you that loan for a mortgage at 2% a year or 3% a year, they're hoping that you default so they can get their hands on an actual tangible asset because the money they lent you didn't exist. You know, they just literally created it out of thin air. And, you know, it's like, I know the Fed's always like, oh, you know, you make these tokens, this and that. Well, what gives it a value? Well, people give it a value. You know, if there's supply and demand, and demand gives it, you know, value. And if there's an exchange for a particular value, you know, and it's, that's banks. Oh, you know, don't go there. It's risky. You know, don't put your money into those types of accounts. That's shady. You know, don't do this. Why? Because they're gonna take your money, and then I think we touched on it earlier. Is go 10x your money, and then lend me at 5%, and then I pay interest, and then you take that more. You know, it's like this big circle. Something of, you know, whatever.
Or they're taking all your money and growing it on you.
Yep, growing it on you and not giving it to you.
Yeah,
give you that 0.5%.
Here's your 35 cents interest you earned, sir. Congratulations.
I can say there's a specific Merrill Lynch location that really does not like me because, you know, I removed my dad's hardworking funds after, you know, like 30 years of growth at that stupid freaking fund, you know, like at that
they have a picture of you.
Definitely. I was like, no, man. Yeah, they'd had his money for, you know, decades. Took a quick look and I was like, this is a terrible move, guys. Like, what are you doing?
They're like, God damn, we got found out.
Got found.
Yeah. That's the problem, is these guys are being exposed more and more for what it is that they do.
It's true. It's partly why I really like providing education on you know, on our site, not just like degen yield farming stuff. Like I really do like providing slightly more detailed information for the people who are interested, because the more you can actually understand, you know, basics and fundamentals of finance, the better choices you can actually make in your own life, and not just in yield farming, not just in crypto, but like in everything.
In general, right?
Just in general, you make such better decisions once you actually start to like understand why things work the way they do, how interest works, how lending works, you know, how all these things that DeFi really does teach you the fundamentals of, you know, and then you kind of start looking, it totally changes your perspective. You start looking at, you know, these traditional banking systems being like, we see what you're doing, motherfucker. Like, we see you.
Is that what you've been doing all these years? Stealing my money? I mean, well, that's the thing, though. You know,
it's like, you think we're just over here breeding axes, but we see you now.
Yeah, top that. Next thing you know, the biggest Axie farm or Axie scholarship fund is like by Goldman Sachs, which I would not be surprised, to be honest with you.
And Visa just bought an NFT.
Yeah, they did. They brought a CryptoPunk.
6-figure. Yeah, CryptoPunk on
Visa's
portfolio.
It's pretty crazy.
And that is the one thing I have not been able to get my hands on, or not a grasp of. I mean, I just don't understand it.
The crypto.
No, just NFTs in general, like ETH, for example. I mean, I
have thoughts on NFTs. Yeah,
I struggle with it.
So, I think NFTs in their current collectible format are kind of crap. That said, I own a few now, but you know, it's just like, you know, occasionally I'll play natives in random farms. I think I'm playing natives in your farm, Mr. Ten. You know, it's just like a chuck it out there, see what the hype happens, like see what people do. And maybe I can, you know, have some weird, crazy return. It's nothing that, you know, if it were to disappear and crash to zero, that I would be destroyed by. It's something that I've clearly said, if this crashes and goes to zero, I'm fine with this. But, you know, it's one of those like slightly more gambling tendencies where it's like, maybe if I buy this frog, it's going to 5x, and then I'll have, you know, this ETH frog that I can get 5 times the money I paid for that stupid frog for.
Degenerate.
So, you know, occasionally I'll do something like that. But where was I going?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I saw
NFTs,
something.
my philosophy, right? So I think they're kind of useless in their current iteration. They're just like some junk collectible. Like they're
Yes.
worth exactly what someone will pay for them and nothing more. They have no actual utility or value.
Yeah, zero
Right.
utility.
Right.
But you know, like that's honestly a lot of crypto, anyways. It's worth precisely what people will pay for it,
Yeah.
which is why I'm fine with them. But anyways,
Can we?
I think NFTs have a future, and I think they have a very interesting future, possibly in terms of
Axes.
security, in terms of, you know, title, in terms of, you know, dealing with like anti-forgery
Verification things.
verification,
like
keys,
concert tickets, game tickets.
totally
Things like
things
that.
things that you need an original copy of to like
Right.
be verified to an original user.
Right.
So I think they have a lot of use. I'm happy to support NFTs in their current weird collectible form if, you know, my funding it somehow moves forward what I think will be an interesting technology, and I get a cute frog in the meantime. But yeah, overall, I get it. I'm not a big fan. I think they're kind of stupid, but I'm still in it.
Yeah, no, the only NFTs I've had experience in purchasing was this like I said, collaboration we did with SCB Finance, where we had like these tiny things, and it was frustrating getting the same NFT over and over. But that's it, and I was only just doing it because it's our project. But you know, I've seen these things where they come out. It's like, hey, you know, it's launching at 50 cents, and then 2 days or 2 hours later, it's worth $2,000. I'm like, what the? And it's happened. But yeah, I just I don't know. Maybe I'm too old for that, or I just haven't got around to it yet.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Axie Infinity NFTs of the year. 16 years running.
All right, I have time for a few more
utility case.
questions.
Utility.
I have time for a few more questions, but I have to bounce soon.
All right.
Yep.
I was gonna do closing arguments.
Okay,
Counselor.
we can do closing arguments. Let's do it.
Is
Yeah.
that acceptable?
Yeah, let's do closing arguments.
We got it coming.
What are we arguing on?
We're just gonna go real quick through a recap about what we got going on, what's coming up next. So, Mr. Ten.
Yes.
What final thoughts you want to leave with folks that are listening, the part of the RugDoc audience? I know you got some people here too, but you know, your exposure to some folks. What kind of stuff you want to leave with those guys, and where can they find it?
I've been around the RugDoc community for quite a bit of quite a long time.
Apparently, you're a legend.
In crypto years, it's probably a few years. You know, going
right.
Yeah. You know, we are not the traditional yield farm or yield optimizer with crazy rates or APRs, as it was mentioned earlier. You know, we are working on the whole simplification process in terms of DeFi and onboarding and allowing people that aren't yet fully comfortable in the whole DeFi process to simplify it. You know, it's been our motto since day one: decentralized finance, simplified. We are working on a few innovative things that I think I touched on earlier: yield decks to go along with the 10 lots. And we have a few other things that are on our roadmap, like the 10 yield, and which is the LP for LP. And these are innovative, I guess, tools or platforms that doesn't exist yet in DeFi or in general, whether it's Ethereum or any other chain. Also, we decided to join the, I guess, Binance Chain MVB program for this next phase. And then, but that's it. 10.Finance is where you can find us, or on Twitter @10Finance, @10Finance, everything, and Telegram or whatnot. And I'm quite easy to be found. I'm literally living inside the Telegram. That is my metaverse. This little Telegram box.
Perfect.
And thank you guys for having me. I
Pleasure.
appreciate you guys
Yeah,
a lot.
always.
And little tidbit fact, I think some people may remember, but 10Finance was the first banner ever put up by the doc. So I'm proud to say I am the first.
He was the first banner that we ever did on the Google Sheet. It looked like crap, like absolute crap. But you know what?
The Google Sheet looked like crap, or the banner looked like crap? Because we made that banner.
Like crap. Yeah, I did, and you know what? It was terrible. This is a learning experience, all right, man.
We've come a long way.
We live
come
and
a
learn.
long way,
We
Nate.
live and learn.
Exactly. We've come a long way, but like, yeah, you were our first, like, you know, banner person and partner. It's been a minute. It's cool. It's really fun.
Has. And I'm very happy with the direction that both of us have gone, and you know where we are within the community, and it's always nice to talk with you.
It is. Yeah, it's always good to talk to you too.
Cool. Doc, you want to give a quick shout out where people can find Doc?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're on our chat, you already know where our chat is. So you can always hit us up on RugDoc chat on Telegram, or you can hit us up on Twitter at RugDoc.io, or you can check us out also at RugDoc.io on our YouTube. Oh God, I've been so busy lately because we just have a million new and interesting things that we are working to push out now and in the foreseeable future. So I would say maybe keep a lookout for NFTs, like more NFT listing stuff, which we've already officially started doing. Maybe keep a lookout for some fun and exciting new partnerships, similar to the one that we just launched with Avalanche, which is already super fun and exciting. Maybe keep an eye out for some more tools and token related things, or maybe some wallet tracking things. We have a lot in the works. It's going to be a fun couple weeks, I suspect.
Yeah, it said all that stuff and then a couple weeks. Like not months, a couple weeks, and she means it too. It's not messing around.
Oh, you know how we run, you know. Yeah,
it's
also like
lightning.
We move quick, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work, and it's gonna be
maximum warp.
a lot of writing and a lot of internet time because I already spend all my time on the internet. So you know, we'll see, but it'll be fun. It'll be cool.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Wow.
All right.
That's going to do it for us here. And I just want to thank Mr. Ten again for coming over and hanging out. We know where we can find him. We got the RugDoc, and that's going to do it for our live voice AMA. And make sure check us out online. And I'm going to cut the stuff here. But if you guys want to stick around and chat, you're more than welcome to do that. But thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening. Bye.